911, what's the address to your emergency? And what's the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
I just my son.
What do you mean you just killed your son?
I'm hearing voices.
Imagine a world where a father's love turns into an unthinkable tragedy.
We prayed over him. We cried over him. We kissed him 1,000,000 times.
A moment of darkness that leaves a family shattered and a community searching for answers.
I will never ever forget the horrifying phone call I received from my sister screaming, "Jax is dead."
In today's video, we unravel the heart-wrenching story of Matthew Ponomarenko, a man battling inner demons, and the tragic loss of his 5-year-old autistic son, Jax.
And you said you're hearing voices?
Yes.
All right, how did you kill your son?
With a baseball bat.
Matt, where was the bat at? Did you have to go get it in the garage?
What led to that fateful day? Was it a cry for help that went unheard, or something far more sinister?
You guys aren't going to help me. Why? Why do you say that? Because I'm going to be in prison the rest of my life.
Welcome to our channel, where we dive deep into the cases that leave us questioning everything we know about human nature. Please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. As we uncover the details of this heartbreaking case, let's not just watch. Let's take action.
I'd like to say, I'm sorry.
Mental health awareness is crucial to preventing tragedies like this. Share this video to help spread the word and join the conversation about how we can make a difference. Let's begin from the very start. Jax Jonathan Ponomarenko came into the world on July 21st, 2015. His parents, Samantha Cherney and Matthew Ponomarenko, were thrilled. Samantha already had a son, Dominic, from a previous relationship. From the moment Jax was born, he and Dominic were inseparable. Even though there was a gap in their ages, their bond was so strong that people who knew them said one wasn't complete without the other. That's what makes what happened next so tragic. At 3 years old, Jax was diagnosed with autism, but this didn't hold him back. He had just started at Steps Academy, and he was the sweetest, smartest little guy. Steps Academy brought Jax so much joy. Every morning, he couldn't wait to get to his classroom, ready to learn and explore. Jacqueline and Melina were Jax's therapists at the Steps Academy. They found Jax had difficulty communicating due to his autism. They coined the idea that changed Jax's life forever.
Matt, if Jax could tell me what happened, what would he tell me?
He was nonverbal.
If he could, what would he tell me?
Jax learned to communicate using a tablet, and once he figured that out, he didn't stop. He shared his thoughts and feelings with his family in a whole new way. This new ability opened up a world of possibilities for Jax, and it was beautiful to see. Jax was your typical 5-year-old, full of energy and curiosity. Whether he was racing around the park or just zooming through the house with his big brother, he was always on the move. He had just started learning to read and couldn't get enough of books. Jax had a song in his heart and a tablet in his hands most of the time. Music was another big love of his, especially when it came to dancing around to The Wheels on the Bus. Jax was a happy kid, always busy, always smiling, and his whole future was ahead of him. Samantha and Matthew began dating in 2013, about 2 years before Jax was born.
What about Jax's mother? Your relationship with her, Samantha?
I was there for 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a good 7 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. You love her?
Yeah.
Both Samantha and Matthew had addiction issues. After Jax's birth, Samantha decided to fix her life and got sober. But her sobriety became a challenge for her. This became the fracture point in their relationship, and Samantha decided to split up for a better future for herself and especially for her son Jax. When Samantha left, Matthew's life took a turn for the worse. Without his wife and support system, he spiraled deep into addiction. Matthew tried to get his life back on track by getting back out there and dating again. But despite his efforts, he never found his one true love. Their relationship wasn't the easiest, especially for Samantha. Matthew had a hard time managing his mental health, dealing with anxiety and bipolar disorder. Matthew has been struggling with bipolar disorder ever since he was a little boy. In 2017, things took a dark turn when he was found guilty of child endangerment. Matthew's own mother called the police, saying her son was having a severe mental breakdown, yelling and swearing at passing cars. For this, Matthew was given a $212 fine. After this incident, the Ohio Department of Children and Families stepped in to investigate the family. They required both Matthew and Samantha to take parenting classes. By 2019, the investigation was closed, with no further action taken. At one point, there was an option for Matthew to enter a 30-day inpatient program, which might have made a difference. But his insurance wouldn't cover it, leaving him without the help he desperately needed.
I've been trying to explain that to people for the last 3 months that something's not right.
Have you had numerous doctors, or is this
Yeah.
is it one doctor after the
I've
next?
had numerous doctors, I've had numerous hospital visits, I've had numerous psych ward trips.
Okay.
Even though Matthew was clean for the last 3 months, by March 2021, when our story takes place, things seemed to be looking up for Matthew. He had managed to stay out of trouble with the law and had built a relationship with his son. Samantha later said that Matthew and Jax had a strong bond, with Jax having his dad wrapped around his little finger. Matthew had also just been discharged from a behavioral health center, and for a while it looked like he was finally in a good place. But then Matthew made a decision that would set off alarm bells. He stopped taking his bipolar medication.
What happened yesterday, at the beginning of the day?
I've been out of my mind the last 3 months.
Okay.
I stopped taking all my medications. The psych ward pulled me off all my medications.
Okay.
The medication had been working, making Matthew feel better, but that false sense of confidence led him to believe he didn't need it anymore. It's a common and dangerous cycle. Feeling good because of the medication, then thinking you've got it under control on your own. Unfortunately, by the time anyone realizes things aren't right, it's often because something terrible has already happened. And by then, it's too late. A child is gone, and the loss is unimaginable. The day after the incident, Matthew found himself in the interrogation room. The detective had one job: to find out what really happened that day. But Matthew wasn't exactly being open or cooperative. It seemed like he either didn't want to relive the horrors of that day, or maybe he was trying to avoid saying anything that could further incriminate himself, even though he had already confessed to killing Jax during the 911 call.
So going back to yesterday, when Jax was dropped off, do you remember about what time that was?
No.
Okay. Do you remember Janice dropping Jax off?
No.
On the morning of March 25th, 2021, it was Samantha's mother, Janice, who dropped Jax off to spend the day with his dad. Matthew lived with his mother. Samantha's mother, Janice, later said that Matthew seemed calm and in good spirits, excited to spend time with his son. Jax, too, was thrilled to see his dad. Everything appeared normal, even happy. The next day, during the interrogation, Matthew couldn't remember any of what happened. The detective knew he couldn't confront Matthew directly. If he pushed too hard, Matthew might shut down and stop talking altogether. It was a tricky balance, repeating questions to keep the conversation going, while also giving Matthew enough space to stay engaged. Jax had a therapist appointment scheduled that morning, but for reasons that remain unknown, he called and canceled it. Instead, he and Jax stayed home together at their house on the 4700 block of Russell Avenue in Palmer, Ohio.
Let's talk about the stuff you do remember. All right. Do you remember you texted Jacqueline, Jax's therapist, and you told her to don't bother coming today. I'm just sick as. Do you remember giving her a text that said that?
No.
No. Jax had an appointment at 1:45 with Jacqueline. Do you know who Jacqueline is?
His therapist.
His therapist. Okay.
Because I haven't been feeling right.
Okay. You don't remember sending her that text that said that, don't bother coming? No? Well, you sent that text at 12:38. Okay. Janice dropped off Jax at about 12 and left you at about 12:10. So in between that, we're talking about, 28 minutes? In that 28 minutes, kind of, wondering what happened in that home. Evidence is going to suggest, different things. But I'd like to hear it from you. And kind of...
I need to go to the psych ward.
You need to go to the psych ward?
Yes.
Okay.
No one could have imagined that what started as an ordinary day would soon turn into a nightmare. Around 2 p.m., the unthinkable happened. Matthew entered the room holding a baseball bat. Without warning, he walked up to his son.
Matt, can you tell me what happened yesterday? Matt, do you remember calling 911?
No.
No? Man, I've heard from a lot of people that you're a good dad.
I am a good dad.
And that you love your son very much. So that I want you to help me understand why what happened yesterday. Did something set you off? What happened in that house?
I don't know.
Do you have anything can you picture anything?
My head? No, I'm just emotionless and just nothing.
Okay.
The brutality was unimaginable.
I will never ever forget the horrifying phone call I received from my sister screaming, "Jax is dead." My first thought was, no, this has to be some type of mistake. A mother's scream from losing a child is a sound like no other.
After the horrific act, Matthew picked up the phone and made a chilling 911 call.
911, what's the address to your emergency? And what's the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
I just my son.
What do you mean you just your son?
I'm hearing voices.
Oh, okay. How old's your son?
6.
And you said you're hearing voices?
Yes.
All right, how did you kill your son?
With a baseball bat.
You killed him with a baseball bat?
The 911 call reveals a chilling and deeply disturbing scene. The operator is calm and methodical, asking the standard questions to assess the situation, while Matthew is clearly in a state of shock and confusion. The 911 operator begins by asking for the address, phone number, and details of the emergency. Matthew responds with, "I just my son." This stark admission immediately sets a grim tone. When asked for clarification, Matthew admits to hearing voices, suggesting a break from reality or a severe mental health episode. The operator learns that Jax was only 6 years old and is now dead in the living room. Matthew confirms this in a detached manner, indicating he is either in shock or disconnected from the reality of his actions. When asked about weapons, Matthew calmly admits that he used a baseball bat. The operator presses for more details, but Matthew's answers become more fragmented. Throughout the call, Matthew continues to mention hearing voices. This crucial detail suggests that he was experiencing a severe psychotic episode or some form of delusion, possibly linked to his known mental health issues. The operator tries to keep him talking, asking why he did it, but Matthew's response is simply, "I don't know." This highlights his confusion and lack of comprehension regarding his actions. As the call progresses, Matthew's ability to respond coherently deteriorates. He begins to repeat himself, and his answers become delayed. He mentions that he's shaking, indicating a physical response to the trauma of his actions. Here's the dilemma. Matt's responses during the call were all over the place, but when asked if he had any other weapons in the home, he answered clearly and said no. This raises a big question. Was Matt truly incoherent, or was he pretending? If he had said yes to having a weapon, the response team might have acted differently. Without jumping to conclusions, it seems like Matt was trying to protect himself based on how he answered the operator's questions. But as soon as the operator is back at asking the same question, Matt chooses again to not answer.
And when did this happen? Okay. And when did this happen, Matt?
The operator repeatedly asks when the incident occurred, but Matthew fails to provide a clear answer. His communication falters, and there are long pauses, suggesting he may be struggling to stay conscious of the situation.
Matt? Matt, where are you?
Toward the end of the call, it's clear that Matthew is increasingly disconnected. He stops responding to the operator's questions, and the call ends with the operator still attempting to maintain contact. Matthew's confusion, detachment, and admission of hearing voices highlight the depth of his mental crisis. It's heartbreaking to even think about what those last moments must have been like for Jax. The fear he must have felt, seeing his own father, someone he loved and trusted, suddenly turn into a person he didn't recognize. During the 911 call, Matthew refers to Jax as being 6 years old, getting his own son's age wrong. Jax was actually only 5. It's hard to believe that Matthew didn't know how old his son was, which makes the mistake even more unsettling.
Do you remember the police come into your house yesterday?
Yeah, I remember the cops were there.
Okay. What happened when the cops got there?
First of all,
Okay. And what happened?
I got tased,
Okay.
tased.
So you got tased yesterday?
When officers arrive at the house, they find Matthew sitting calmly in the front yard. When they ordered him to surrender and keep his hands above his head, Matthew had his hands in his pocket. Despite several warnings, he failed to remove his hands out of pocket, and the responding officers had no other option but to tase him to safely restrain him.
Do you remember what happened inside the house? It's okay, Matt.
No, it's not.
It's okay to let it out.
No, it's not.
You can do it. It's okay.
It's not okay.
It's okay to talk about it now. I know. I know you're a good dad, okay? That's not the issue. It's not the issue. I know you loved him very much. Something happened. Okay. It's okay. Let it out.
It's not okay.
You let it out. You can tell me. Did something happen in the house that just made you snap with him? Nobody's denying that you're a good dad, dude. Nobody. Everybody I've talked to. Everybody.
Inside the house, in the living room, lay the lifeless body of 5-year-old Jax. The sight must have been unimaginable, something that would stay with those officers forever.
When Jax came over to the house, when Janice dropped him off, what was he wearing? Do you remember? Just regular clothes?
Yeah.
Okay. So when, later on, he was just wearing the diaper, did you end up taking off his clothes, or did he just take off his clothes, or was that something that he does?
No, he takes his clothes off.
He does? Okay.
When the first responders arrived, they found Jax only wearing a diaper. Janice had told them exactly what clothes Jax was wearing when she dropped him off at Matthew's house. The detectives were now focused on figuring out what happened during the 28 minutes between Janice dropping him off and the 911 call. They needed to understand how Jax ended up in that condition.
Were you guys playing any games or anything like that? I noticed he had a tablet, a pad, that he was using.
He's always got his tablets.
Okay. Were you working on the tablet with him at all?
Playing with him.
Okay. So you guys were playing. What happened next?
When the detective asked Matthew what happened next, he shut down again. It was clear that Matthew wasn't going to answer this question. The detective chose to stay silent, letting the awkward silence build. These quiet moments can be surprisingly tense, and the detective used this to their advantage. Since they couldn't confront Matthew directly, this subtle approach was the key to cracking him.
Did whatever happen pretty soon after Janice dropped him off? It's okay to say it, Matt.
I just want to get help.
I know you do. We're gonna get you the help.
You guys aren't going to help me.
Why? Why do you say that?
Because I'm going to be in prison the rest of my life.
And can you help me understand what went on yesterday? Were you having these thoughts, Matt? Were you having these thoughts before Janice dropped him off? No?
When the detective pushed Matthew a bit more, he did exactly what was expected. Matthew now claimed he did nothing. This could be his way of avoiding trouble or just a defense mechanism to forget what happened. From his behavior, it seemed more like he was trying to block out the memory. Detectives, crime scene investigators, and the medical examiner's office spent hours at the scene, carefully gathering evidence and taking photos. It was a painstaking process to piece together what had happened. Matthew was arrested right there in the front yard, where the police had found him earlier.
And I agree, you need to be evaluated. Not in dispute. We still have to talk about what happened at the house. We have to get through that. And once we can get through that we can get through anything.
I'm going to be in prison the rest of my life.
Well, if you're sick, I mean, who's to say you don't belong in the psych ward? I'm not a psychiatrist.
Because a psych ward can't keep you forever.
Okay.
The detective is trying every angle to get Matthew to talk about what happened that day. But Matthew keeps dodging the topic. It's a game they're both playing, with neither willing to give in. But then suddenly Matthew started to crack.
Can I restart?
Yes.
I was sitting in my room.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely normal.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what happened, but something told me I needed to kill myself.
Okay.
I just lost all control since then. I've been in and out of psych wards, in and out of rehabs and shit. Just nothing's felt real.
So was this yesterday you were sitting in your room when you felt this?
Oh, it was like a couple months ago.
Okay. So what happened yesterday?
It's like Matthew is completely ignoring the detective's questions, only speaking when he feels comfortable and ready to talk about something on his own terms. Unwilling to give up, the detective went back a bit further in the timeline. Let's see if Matthew is willing to talk about the weekend earlier.
So what happened yesterday? Let's go back to last weekend. You had Jax for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Was it a good visit?
Yeah.
Remember what you guys did?
Yeah, we're just doing what we normally do.
I mean, did you go anywhere? Was it a nice? I think it was a nice weekend last weekend.
Yeah, it was nice out.
Did you guys do anything? Go to the park, anything like that?
Went to the park with my mom.
Okay. Did you guys get ice cream, anything like that?
No.
No. Overall, good 3 days. Good visit.
Hmm?
So, and you were alone with Jax numerous times during that visit.
Yeah.
Did you have any of these thoughts then?
No.
No. Do you get along with your, Janice and John?
Yeah. Love them.
Okay.
They love me.
They do. They do. It's alright to talk about it, man.
I didn't even snap over anything.
Okay. Was it just...
I've been losing my mind.
Okay.
For the first time during the whole interrogation, Matthew answered this question. Sensing an opportunity, the detective zeroed in on the murder weapon.
Matt, where was the bat at? Did you have to go get it in the garage? You did? Did you have to go get it in the garage? Okay. Guide me through what happened after that. I know this is hard. I know this is hard. I do. I'm not judging you one bit.
I know you're not.
I'm not. I am. My heart aches for you. It does. It does.
He admits picking the baseball bat from the garage, but again blacks out when asked what happened next.
After she drops Jack off, talk to her for a few minutes, you guys go into the side door into the house. Okay. What happens next? You guys playing games, watching TV or something?
Yeah, playing his YouTube.
Playing his YouTube? Alright. What were you doing?
I was sitting in the backyard smoking.
Okay. So was he in the house or was he outside with you?
He was inside.
He's inside. What happened then? You're just out in the back smoking? Okay, what happened next? You don't know? Did you go in the garage at that point? Or did you go back in the house?
I think from that point I went back inside.
Okay. Where was he at in the house?
He was inside.
No, I know, but was he upstairs in the basement? Was he on the first floor?
He was on the first floor.
Okay. Okay. So you went inside. What happened after that?
After a long pause, Matthew finally replied,
I didn't mean to do it.
Okay. I know you didn't. Nobody would. So what? Walk me through it. We'll do it real quick and be done with it.
There's nothing to talk about.
Well, there's a little bit to talk about. Okay. I know you didn't mean to do it. You went back in the house. Did you ever have the bat with you when you went back in the house? And then what?
I'm not talking about it.
Was it just too hard?
since the confession is not really clear, the detective repeats it again.
So you're outside smoking, you went to get it, you went to retrieve the bat, you went in the house. Did it just happen after that? How long did it take you before you called 911? A while? Did you go out and have a couple cigarettes?
No.
No? Did you call anybody?
I called the cops.
Did you call them immediately? Or did you have to get yourself together a little bit?
No, I called them right away.
Call them right away? Okay.
Now that the detective sees a kink in the armor, he forces into his defenses, and Matthew finally starts to open up.
Do you remember where, Matt, I know you remember, but where in the house did it first start?
In the living room.
In the living room? Okay. Did something happen in the living room, or it was just one of those things where you went, you got the bat, you walked in, and boom, it was over?
Yeah.
The detective recreates the scene again.
Janice drops, Jax off. Okay, just so we have the story straight. Janice drops, Jax off. He goes inside. He's playing with his tablet on YouTube. You're outside just in the back patio just smoking some cigarettes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You went into the garage, retrieved the baseball bat, which was in the back of the garage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You went into the house?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go into the house? Through the back door or through the side door?
Back door.
You went through the back door. It's alright. Relax. You went through the back door. Did you just walk right up to him and do it?
I don't want to talk about it.
I know you don't. I know you don't. But I want to be able to show that you know what happened and that you're remorseful, and I know you are.
Matthew stopped answering the tougher questions, so the detective switched gears, looking for a motive. Maybe Matthew couldn't handle that Samantha was now with her new girlfriend. It's possible that this triggered deep feelings of rejection or jealousy, leading him to act out in a way he couldn't control. This kind of emotional turmoil can sometimes push people to do things they normally wouldn't.
Did it have any, can I ask you something, man to man? Did it have anything to do with Samantha and her new girlfriend?
No.
No? You're aware of that relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Did it make you mad at all?
No.
Oh, make me mad. It would. I'm not gonna lie. I've been in different relationships throughout my life, and I think that would piss me off.
Mm-hmm.
On April 1st, 2021, Matthew was indicted by a grand jury. The charges were serious: 2 counts of aggravated murder, kidnapping, and 2 counts of endangering children. Matthew pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. However, the grand jury rejected this plea. They found evidence that suggested Matthew had premeditated the crime. The judge overseeing Matthew's case mentioned that the death penalty was a real possibility. However, Matthew's legal team sought a hearing to see if he had a serious mental illness that could make him ineligible for execution under a new law passed the same month he was indicted. A court-appointed psychologist evaluated Matthew and diagnosed him with bipolar disorder, which significantly impaired his mental capacity at the time of the crime. Despite this, the psychologist found Matthew fit to stand trial. Matthew eventually changed his plea to guilty, but he did so not in proper court decorum. Ironically, his plea was full of profanities. Matthew even went as far as cursing the judge. He admitted to 1 count of aggravated murder, felony kidnapping, and 1 count of endangering children after accepting a plea deal. During the trial, Matthew made several bizarre outbursts, which added another layer of distress to the already heartbreaking case. He was brought back in after a short break and made to hear Samantha's family speak in court. The first to speak was Samantha's sister, Jack's maternal aunt.
We spent several precious hours with him, helping make memorabilia for both our family and Matt's family. We prayed over him, we cried over him, we kissed him 1,000,000 times.
Next to speak was Janice, Samantha's mother, Jax's maternal grandmother.
Jax's handprints are on my mirror. His tablet is in my window at the top of my steps. They will remain there until the day I die. My life will never be the same. Sleepless nights, crying to certain songs, leaving work because a child looked like Jax, going through the grocery store and having to leave because I would always get him a donut when he was with me.
After the family gave their victim impact statements, Matthew was given a chance to speak to the court. Overwhelmed with emotion, he broke down in tears and barely managed to mutter, "I'm sorry."
I'd like to say, I'm sorry.
Matthew Ponomarenko was sentenced to life in prison. He'll be eligible to apply for parole after serving 45 years, which means he would be 76 years old. This lengthy sentencing finally comes to a close, but there's no real winner. Matthew's family spoke about how he had been struggling with mental health issues for a long time, blaming the system that failing to provide him with the help he needed. That tragic day, he was left alone with the child. His mother's letter expressed deep regret for leaving him alone with Jax, wishing she had known just how bad his mental health was at that time. Matthew has been sentenced to life in prison with the first chance of parole in 45 years for the death of his son Jax. In Jax's memory, his mother Samantha, along with other family members and some of his former therapists, started a scholarship fund called the Jax Memorial Autism Scholarship. Their mission is to support families by providing resources and funding for children or family members diagnosed with autism. It's a way to honor Jax's memory and help others facing similar challenges. Jax's funeral took place on April 1st, 2021, at the Columbia Road Baptist Church. His brother Dominic gave a touching statement. He said that Jax was the best brother anyone could have asked for. Dominic had been looking forward to watching Jax grow up so he could teach him basketball. He spoke about how much he would miss racing around the house with Jax and all the memories that would never be made. It was a painful reminder of the many moments they would never share. His family will always be grateful to his therapists at the Steps Academy, Jacqueline and Milena.
There is one person I would like to address in this room, and that was Jax's therapist, Jackie. She was an angel in disguise. She taught Jax so much. She was the most wonderful person and loved Jax as much as we did.
They didn't just help Jax find his voice. They lifted his spirit through therapy, song, and dance, making sure he knew how loved and special he was. Matthew Ponomarenko's story is one of missed signs and lost opportunities, a father who struggles when unnoticed until it was too late. Jax's life ended far too soon, leaving behind questions that can never truly be answered. What we're left with isn't just a case file, it's a harsh reality check on the importance of recognizing when someone is spiraling out of control. This isn't just about one family's loss. It's about all of us realizing that mental health isn't something we can afford to ignore. If you or someone you know is struggling, reach out before the weight becomes unbearable. Let's learn from this tragedy and work toward a future where help comes before it's too late. Thank you for watching. If this case moved you or made you think differently, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation going and work together to bring light to the darkest corners of human experience. See you in the next episode, and remember, stay informed, stay vigilant,